other challenges, it relates to the question he was talking about, asking about applications, right? So in the data center, you know exactly what you want to run. So workloads, etc., pretty much are known. So which means that you can go for what is the concept of whitelisting versus blacklisting, right? Go with whitelisting, where you're saying these are the applications that we have trusted, these are the ones that you can run. Blacklist, any other, it may be a good application, it may not have any threats, but it's not approved, right? So it's kind of going back to the corporate model where we say only what I give you is what you can use, but it's a variation on that, which means it's whitelisted. Now the whitelisting, the reason it's called dynamic is that if you think an application needs to be allowed, then you can submit it to your administrator and say, add it to the whitelist and things like that. So those are the things. And similarly, you can get real time through the cloud. If you want to know a new application that is seeking connection, let's say, you can ask the McAfee cloud threat intelligence and say, do you know about this file? It's the reputation of the file. So not the malware content or not, but whether it is a good file or not. Right? And like I mentioned earlier, data is what matters. So data you need to protect. And there are encryption technologies that exist, and Amazon gives you, others also give you all this called native encryption. So we need to look at aspects of how we can harness the power of the encryption that these people provide. Encrypt your data. And if there are also things that at the gateway level, McAfee provides, for example, if traffic is going outside the network, it will automatically encrypt your data. Now, if the data is encrypted, obviously, if anybody lays their hands on it, personal device or otherwise, it's of no value. Now, you may ask, if I have uploaded some data, let's say Dropbox, right? You put some data there and it's encrypted and sent to Dropbox. How do I get the same data? I'm authorized, I should be able to see it. So you go there. How do I get it real time? Right? So how do I get the decryption for it? You need to authenticate back with your main server and say, look, I am who I am, and I'm looking for this file, and you get like a certificate or a decryption key. You can download and see it. So that way, the cloud benefit of being able to access anything from anywhere, that is not compromised. And obviously, data loss prevention is another thing. What data is going out, etc., can be monitored. So we talked about this being bring your own device, that kind of thing happening, and connecting from anywhere, accessing anything from anywhere. So identity comes into play. So you need to look at identity of individual application devices, convert that, and see in what context they are asking for it, right? So that comes up to this of getting single sign-on based on context. The other one is the correlation we talked about. How do you correlate all this? So we have got looking at aspects of situational incident event management. I think it's SIM product as it's called, and that product needs to also scale. So what used to be in a single network, it now needs to handle that many more real-time threat and information, and do real-time reporting and visualization. So the challenges of that, and then also maybe if you're a provider, you can look at. So I'm seeing threats happening in, let's say, a particular bank, ABC Bank. So you can go and alert other banks and say, look, we are seeing a finance-targeted threat, and you need to look at this. And if you already have a remedy for it, you can probably automatically remediate as well. So those kinds of challenges which don't have complete solutions today exist. So this is just looking at it from the bottom up of the stack, compute, network, etc. So each of these claims, how do you handle it? And then you have a common management plane. So let's just fill the picture, right? To manage, you need something like a single management console, and that also maps to the compliance. So you need the compliance, risk and compliance reporting standards that need to be managed. So policy, managing the policies and auditing them real time, etc. Those come in. Then network, we talked about it, the network intrusion prevention, the next generation firewall, those are going virtual appliance. Endpoint, we talked about the traditional ones. They exist, that virus scan enterprise and the for Linux, and we talked about the move, optimize for virtual environments, application control, the whitelisting product, the the boot attestation. These are things that you can do at the endpoint level. Look at some of those aspects. Then the standard platforms, web servers, database servers, emails, they need to be, you need to look at security at those levels. Protecting the data, we just talked about it. So we need to look at this as a holistic picture. It is traditional as if it was in your environment, but exploded beyond your control. How can you at least visualize and remediate? That's the goal of the game in the cloud. So that's about it for me, and this is just how the two companies are building a solution together. Thanks, Anand. Thanks. I don't know if there are more questions. If you're low, I can take them, or maybe we can take it after JD. Maybe that is.
Yeah, we'll just, what we'll do is that we'll start the session, and if anyone has a direct one-on-one, maybe Tarun, you can just take a at the hall, and we'll have the next speaker, Mr. Anand Subbaraman. So those who want to understand more on data center trust attestation, Mr. Jayasankar Divakarla, his topic is being run at the other hall, so you can, go.
Questions and discussion after. I'm a senior director at Oracle, responsible for application strategy. And today I just thought we'd talk about mobility and how it's transforming the world of enterprise apps. I mean, we all know how it's transforming the world of consumer apps, so I'm not going to skip too much into that. So a few things. I want to start off with this chart. And this chart essentially says the progress of PCs, consumer and corporate in the last 15 years. And how you see smartphones have just taken over. It's probably going to touch 1 billion units next year, as well as tablets. And what is interesting about this dynamic here, if you can see, is people who never had access to a laptop, people who never had access to a desktop, everybody has access to a very powerful computing device. And that's true worldwide, every single geography, and everything else. And that's got a profound change on how we deliver software, not just in the consumer world, but also in the business. So there are really 3 trends that are driving this. And I think Mr. Udayan talked about it very succinctly about the consumerization of the internet. The consumerization of IT basically is pushing enterprises in a direction which 10 years back would have been non-practicable. Enterprises were very closed, very proprietary, this is the way you do it. Today, because of consumerization, everybody wants to do things. Enterprises have no choice but to embrace what their employees who have consumer devices and consumer experiences want. People want to use an order management system as simple as how they use Facebook. They want to have a feed stream for communication. And that's the reality. And what's driving it is the 4 new horsemen of technology. For those who are not familiar, I mean, if you read literature, the 4 horsemen come, I guess, during the Crusades, are the people who really move forward. The last decade, the 4 horsemen were probably Microsoft, IBM, Oracle, and probably you could say that SAP or anybody else, really speaking. This decade, the 4 horsemen are, it's Apple, Google, Facebook, and Amazon. I belong to Oracle, a lot of Oracle colleagues, IBM colleagues. Reality is, we are not in the new horsemen of technology. It's something that all of us aging organizations have to adopt to. Because the ones who are driving the agenda are these 4. And what it means by mobile is something very profound. If you take a look at platform wars in mobility, mobility has been very interesting. We had this whole Windows, I've been in mobility for 15 years now. You had Palm personal computers, Palm handheld devices 13, 14 years back. Then it shifted to Windows devices. You had little Windows phones, little Windows handheld devices, pocket PCs as they were called. And then with the shift, it became BlackBerry, the most common one. Today, it's pretty much either an Apple or Android. That's pretty much the world. As far as possible, Microsoft still thinks they have a fighting chance, but for all practical purposes, the world has segmented into an Apple OS and an Android OS. And what is interesting is these companies are trying to do very, very different things. If you take a look at Apple, you read the press, they were trying to say, why don't I buy out Tesla Motors, which is a maker of electric cars that came up in the news a few days back. And again, it's about mobility into the vehicle, mobility into every aspect of people's life. And that has got a huge impact if you think on the car manufacturers. So the world of mobility is also revealing enterprise companies and so enterprise applications. I think there's a session on the Internet of Things, but we're going to come to that very briefly as well. So from our point of view, the platform war for mobile is essentially over. And the next war is beginning is the Internet of Things itself, which is again mobility taken to the next level itself. And how all of this influence enterprise applications and how you want to build and think about it is what I'm going to talk about. So if you take about enterprise applications, the evolution, it's very simple, right? It was SMS, primarily in the mobile space, 10, 12 years back. Email. Then you have a little of mobile applications. Supposing you are a field sales representative, you might want to check your set of clients you want to go after, you want to visit them, you might want to capture orders, all of that. And obviously enterprise social network. So the models were really B2C to begin with, then B2E, business to employee, which is really your employee applications. Can I enter a leave request on a mobile device? Can I really, as a field sales representative, can I go to a consumer or to a customer and essentially give an order? As a field service rep, can I go and fix something? And then you have this B2B2C, which is a newer model, and then finally a machine-to-machine model. So the whole evolution of mobile apps is following a very interesting path. And so the 4 stages all give different business results. The first stage gives you automation of paper processes. If you are a field sales representative or you are a pharmaceutical sales rep, you go into a doctor's office, you probably capture information. Yeah, I've given a sample to a doctor, I've done something, you scribble some notes. Today, you might go with an iPad or an Android tablet, you might actually capture information right there. So you're automating stuff well out of time. That's interesting. Field and market intelligence was the next stage of value to the end user. Supposing a field service representative, I'm going to fix a washing machine. I go fix the washing machine. I know the problem. The person had called about one problem. When I'm outside, on-site, I find something else. I might want to replace something else. I do something else. So I'm actually adding more value to it. So there's a whole value of this chain of this, right? And today when you come to machine, it's much more automated. My LG washing machine, if it goes down, they basically say call the call center, hold the cell phone to the machine. It will give some diagnostic garble, which will be interpreted by LG's command console, and they know exactly whom to dispatch, what to do, and fix it. And that could be a remote firmware upgrade as well. So the evolving nature of mobile enterprise apps is dramatic. Like, don't think of it just as the end consumer. Think of it as LG, as the LG company itself. What they're able to do with these models is just very, very interesting of how they build out enterprise apps. So, I don't have any jazzy videos, partly in the interest of time, so we can always send them later. But if you take a look, mobile applications, insurance applications, everything else are showing enterprise apps how it's to be done. That's a reality. We saw a bunch of it. You augmented reality, and that ties back to the beautiful video that Naveen showed us right in the morning, which is really augmented reality. The person in UK wakes up in the morning, they swipe it, that's augmented reality. And so you're going to see a lot of these high-end retailers essentially move towards augmented reality applications. You can have an application on your Android phone where you're actually walking through a store. So you can walking through a retail store, you can actually build these applications. And these are consumer-facing, these are actually for the enterprise itself. You can touch, click, you know what to do, right? So that's the whole thing of augmented reality. That's the nature of change with mobile applications. And finally, we have machine to machine, which is the whole connected devices itself. I mean, they say now the Internet of Things, according to John Chambers, is pretty much going to be what? 50 billion devices. There will be 50 billion connected devices. Every car is a device. Every component in electrical transformer is a device. Every healthcare system is a device. Apart from your smartphones and everything else. Every place in your electrical grid is a device. The information that they have, the kind of applications you can create are revolutionary using these potentials even for the enterprise. So with that, enterprise mobility. If I go back 5, 10 years back, everybody was, oh, nobody wants to do enterprise mobile apps. Why? Because technology changes so fast. By the time you build a Palm handheld application, Palm is obsolete, it moved to Windows. By the time you build Windows, Windows obsolete, it moved to BlackBerry. So the whole myth around that. People talked about security. I think the fantastic session on security earlier. These are all in the last decade. So no large organization really had a good mobile strategy because of the myth of security breaches. Mobile device management. What do I do when I hand over thousands of devices to the workplace? What happens if one of them loses it? There could be confidential information that is lost. How do I kill the device? And how do I manage it? Can I manage it myself? So all of these were the myths of enterprise mobility through the last decades. Things really changed with the advent of the new 4 horsemen, Amazon, Facebook, Apple, and Google. Suddenly people woke up and everybody was bringing a device to work. You had no choice, you had to accept it. You had to convince, every organization had to say, okay, I need to deliver email on all these devices, not just on my secure BlackBerry network. So I need to give people access to Android and on their thing. I need to provide as many employee applications on these devices. If I'm a field sales representative, why should I equip a different device? Why don't I just use this device for him to go out in the field and do his work and do productive itself? So when we work with clients, the first thing is an organization is, and you, a lot of you work with your clients, is focus on the end user and the use case itself. Right? I mean, what are you trying to do? What is the automation problem you're trying to do? And then you work on what kind of enterprise mobile solution you need that satisfies pretty much everything that you need. Security, data privacy, downtimes, integration. And that is no different from the cloud. I mean, people don't realize the mobile and the cloud are intrinsically joined at the hip. I mean, there is no mobile without the cloud. There's no cloud without mobile. People access Facebook more through their mobile device. They say Google Maps, primarily from Friday evenings to Sunday in the US, is 80% only on mobile phones. So if you think about it, those two, there is no virtually. Mobile is driving cloud adoption. Cloud is driving mobile adoption. So if you think about it from a very intrinsic perspective. So there's no difference from how you think about a mobile strategy as you think from a cloud strategy. So, and then you really come to 2 kinds of applications. One is, and I think Udayan had a great presentation earlier, right? It's about either you do something that is very evolutionary, which is, can I reduce 10% of my cost itself, right? And if you take intrinsically applications like field sales automation, field service automation, they're all essentially evolutionary applications. People would anyway go there and fix your problem. They would take pen and paper, they would take your signature, you would have an invoice, they would go to office, somebody in the back office would actually enter stuff back into a computer. What you now do is you move it to a device, so people, everything is in the point, automation happens, you improve your effectivity, right? That's typically your evolutionary applications. Direct store delivery, you're delivering whatever you need, right? That's the whole thing. The revolutionary applications are the more interesting category that people, enterprise are thinking about, is can I create markets that did not exist before? And that's something people want to think about, right? Like LG's market is, if I were to internet enable every single device that I sell, my cost of service could probably come down to 0. It could actually fuel, I would know exactly what's going on. So it will help my next generation models, it will help my next generation machines, whatever I do. That is a revolution. Your basic applications will never do that. So how you do that, that's an interesting way of how you think about it. remote home healthcare. I mean, very applicable in any country in the world. If I can create a very simple kit for healthcare that monitors stuff, sends it over to the hospital and a specialist, you're reducing the cost of healthcare 10x and probably improving the quality of patient care dramatically. So these are very interesting ones that come up. I mean, utility grid monitoring. Where is up, where is down in the network? Where can I really take care of stuff itself at the point of sale? So there's a whole slew, retail, consumer augmentation. There's a whole slew of applications which you can create. I mean, Uber to the point with Udayan. It's again a mobile application. It's predicted the fact that your taxi driver has an Android or an iPhone. The consumer has an Android or iPhone. That's it, the two things. And you have a network that matches people, and then they do capacity planning. For example, Uber's pricing was, oh, it is Christmas Day in New York City. For 2 blocks, I'm going to charge $100 because they knew there's going to be demand for people to do that. And you can create those kind of revolutionary applications which is really, you're creating an entire enterprise with Uber collecting consumers. So there are plenty of stuff that you can do. And reality is enterprises want both. There's no one size fits all. You've got to have applications that are evolutionary, that move the ball forward in your conventional business processes, and you've got to have revolutionary processes. And that's really how an enterprise mobile strategy comes out. Right, so that's very important. And picking a right platform is key because the world of mobiles have completely changed. As you can see, there's devices, form factors, and channels. I mean, many of you in the room have probably used a whole category of these devices, so you kind of know what's happened. And you're going to have a whole new category of devices. You're going to have devices with near-field communication, curved screens, 3D glasses. I haven't even touched about Google Glass and what you can do wearing the thing, right? I mean, it's just what you can do, the possibilities of this are just becoming more and more interesting by the day. So a mobile strategy, really, you have to look at the user experience is key to build out very compelling applications because there's no user adoption. People are not going to buy it, it's going to fail as a company. So you're going to have really think of whether you want to have browser applications, you're going to have offline applications which use the device native features, or you're going to build hybrid applications. So you've got to think about what you're trying to do to solve a particular problem. So these are very important aspects for enterprise mobile applications, more than I would say consumer, because enterprise also has a higher barrier when it comes to data privacy, security, uptime, outage requirements, integration back to back-end systems and all of that. You just have a much higher barrier of entry. And finally, I think a point that I would like to make is the way mobile is shaping up is everybody's an employee of an organization or they run their own organization. There are two kinds of people. The world of mobile has blurred your work life and your personal life. People reply to stuff on the go, people take calls on the go. The whole work of live, work, connect has completely changed. And that again is a very important piece when you think of your enterprise mobile applications, of how it connects back to your internal social networks, which are very corporate social networks. You could have a Yammer application or a chat application within your firewall, and how that is delivered through a mobile device. Again, it starts transcending a lot of boundaries here. It's very important for people to think that through when you go there. And finally, just one plug for an Oracle platform that we support is our mobile platform that pretty much supports all that we talked about. It supports your enterprise class needs with data retention, risk, privacy, integration, and so on. It allows you to support any kind of popular device, an Android or an iOS form factor, and takes in everything from the device or the device services itself. So you can build a mobile application which has got mapping in it. It uses your native calendar capability, it uses your native messaging capability and all of that. And you can finally integrate to payment and everything else, which then transcends the business to consumer angle. So with that, I just want to give food for thought. Mobility, cloud, social, highly interrelated. There is no social without mobile. Both don't exist without the cloud. These are virtually things that WhatsApp would not have been successful with no mobile devices. It's that simple. There would not have been any WhatsApp. So that is a piece that you got to think about. When you think of your cloud strategy, your mobile strategy, and your social strategy also become equally important. Platforms do matter, especially for enterprise, not as much for consumers. Pick what you want. Focus on what business use case you really want to solve from a business point of view. Do you want to solve an optimization problem of improving productivity of a certain workforce or so on, and how you want to deliver it? Or you go back to your business and say how I can deliver things that were not delivered before. And that's your radical innovation, which you can do, especially through mobile, if you think about it, especially if you work for a retail industry, healthcare. There are just things that you can do with this confluence of mobile and cloud, which you could not do 3 to 5 years back. With that, I think I'm the last person standing with you guys at lunch. I'm open for questions. Otherwise, it's the lunch break. Thank you. Sure. Earlier discussion with Udayan about his models from the high price sales approach, your IBM executives, your Oracle executive, SAP executive, your high price, high competition executive. Current model is to sell on the web. But software is one piece of it. And obviously we need to build out better technologies much faster. Agility is a very key word in this discussion. If you're not agile, you're dead. But yeah, I mean, that's it. Never rule out the old hospital. They're still, the market cap is still 200 billion each, so they're not going away anywhere.
No, the thing is, all the current talks, focusing on the consumer.
Well, the consumer is impacting the enterprise. You go into any conversation with the CIO, they really want an enterprise app that is Facebook Live, Google Fast, on an iPhone. It's that simple. And that's what they want. Right? That's what the current generation of people want. Especially if we take a look at the Western world, a lot of people are moving off in retirement. You have people, millennials coming into the workplace. They are expecting a very different kind of, why should this application look like this? Why should it have 10 fields in this particular way? These are questions that users are asking. Why can't we be much more simple? Why can't we just push driven to me directly? So it's like my Facebook feeds you. I know what is happening. Why can't you tell me that this order has been processed? Why should I go up to a screen and query up saying order number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? It makes nothing. It makes no importance. And then say, okay, order fulfilled. Right? I mean, these are questions that are being asked already. So the world of the consumer is being pushed very hard to the world of the enterprise. Go on.
So you're saying that more like the enterprise software, IBM and Oracle has been creating all these years.
You have to simplify.
Consumer friendly.
Absolutely, absolutely. And if you take a look at our next generation cloud applications, it's that. You can go and order a database on the cloud. It's free. You can just go register and do it.
Correct, but
starting the process.
Yeah, but that is being done by other cloud open source guys also. So
I mean, open source guys, again, it comes back finally is reliability, security, risk. Will they deliver it for you consistently day after day? When you have a support P1 ticket, will they give you that support? I mean, there are lots of things. I don't disagree. MongoDB is a very good database. I mean, there's stuff that goes on, right? I mean, I would like to see them expand the channel. I mean, there is just, it's an interesting dynamic, all I'm saying. I don't think the winner of the next 10 years is decided yet.
You see, what IBM and Oracle of the world have is enterprise knowledge. So they bring in the entire end-to-end implementation. They can. Whereas if you see the project implementation that are done by Cloudera or MongoDB, they are just handling the one trial project in the company. Once the company start for a enterprise-wide implementation, for example, cloud, they would require a very strong knowledge and they would look at their current partners. And this is where most of the businesses are looking at and they are expecting